Welcome to another episode of Well, Don't Tell the Kids. I'm Janet Lee, your host, and today I'm speaking with my guest, Rebecca Riedy. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Rebecca is currently in Southern California. She and her husband, John, are raising 2 sons.
Yeah, they're kind of really in the teens at the moment.
Okay.
2 promotions around here. So I've got one going into high school and one going into middle school.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
You didn't start out on the West Coast, from what I understand. Did you started out in the country's heartland? Did you do high school in Missouri?
Yeah, Kansas City. So kind of right on the border of Kansas and Missouri. State line was my street to school. So,
do you consider yourself a Californian, a California girl, or a transplanted Midwestern?
I'm a transplanted Midwesterner. Although I think it's possible that you could say I was always a California person, accidentally born in the Midwest.
And then I see that you made your way to Southern Methodist University in Texas for your college experience.
Yeah.
And that was in a BA in acting. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Usually the folks who go that route, they catch the bug early for acting or theater.
Yeah, I'm one of those, for sure.
Did you do a lot of preparation? Did you find yourself doing a lot of preparation in high school for, the school plays and things like that?
Yeah, I did. Well, I went to a really small private high school. It's like a college prep school, not a religious school, but a college prep day school. So many of the people there were trying to go to Harvard or wherever, I'm all, I don't really, it's just, I was always an actor. That's what I wanted to do. And I knew even then that that's what I wanted to do. So it's kind of a great place to do it because there wasn't a whole lot of competition for people wanting to do the plays and the musical and the, whatever else. So I got to explore a lot of that. And then while I was in high school, our local repertory theater cast me in a few productions. I got to understudy Alice in Wonderland for the Missouri Repertory Theater, which is a really well-established local repertory theater. So I kind of knew I was on, and I knew I was onto something then. I was like, okay, maybe I actually can do this.
Were you on stage for that?
I understudied the role, which meant I actually got to do 2 performances.
Oh, wow.
Which was mildly terrifying because I was 17 years old.
That must have been quite the experience on stage. And
it was incredible.
The professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were at SMU studying theater, and then I lose the thread. Then I know you're in the L.A. area. So I'm going to L.A. I'm going to Hollywood.
Well, I took a trip to New York to see if I was going to go there, and I decided I couldn't starve in New York. It was just going to be too hard. I was like, I think I can starve in L.A. far better than I can starve in New York. Oh, in L.A. It's really that simple. I knew that I didn't necessarily just want to do theater. There was a group of actors from SMU that actually stayed in Dallas, Texas, and started a theater company there that I understand is still a very, very well-respected theater company in Dallas, Texas.
What is that called?
Kitchen Dog Theater Company. That was all SMU grads that started that. And there were a whole group of people that were going to stay and just be part of that. And then there was another group that was going to Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, like really great theater towns, And then a very committed few heading on to New York. And I just, being from Kansas City, New York was such a culture shock for me. And especially at the time, this was 89 that I graduated high school. Or I should say it was 93 then when I graduated college. And I was like, 93, down around NYU, that area, like it was all so dirty and scary.
Yeah.
And I was just from the burbs in Kansas City. It was just too much.
I remember my first visit to New York City, just going there for a visit.
And I love going now. And now I could totally go settle there. I'm very comfortable in New York now, and I'm good. But at the time, it was overwhelming. And it was just, you're already staring down the barrel of what is going to be an atypical life, right? It's not going to be linear. There's no, you get the job and then you work really hard and then you work your way up. There's none of that. It's not a linear career path.
That's right. It's much more from what I understand, happenstance or being in the right place at the right time and being prepared for that
Exactly. It's a far scrappier type of life.
So New York City. So then you said, okay, well, let's try the left coast.
And I will say I did club my roommate over the head and drag her out and make her move with me. So there was also sort of my little cushion, my little whoopee cushion
plan
over there.
Yeah. Were you still focused on the theater or acting aspect of it, or did you into the voice-over land, because that is your main concentration nowadays?
It is. When I was at SMU, there was a flyer on the bulletin board from a company in Dallas, Texas it was in the beginning days of before the internet, but the internet was a concept, but the word interactive was very big, and nobody knew quite what it was all going to be or how it was all going to play out, right? And this was a company that would, at the beginning of the phone book, would have a little insert, like a multi-page insert that had all of these phone numbers, and it would be one blanket number, like 816-1000 or something like that. And then it would be all of these little 4-digit codes after that. And it would be things like, if you wanted to know about podiatry, suddenly you would hit the 4-digit code, and it would, so, you would get this whole spiel about podiatry, the feet. And then at the very end of it, it would say, the previous message has been brought to you by Joe Bob Podiatry in Dallas, Texas. To be directly connected to Joe Bob Podiatry, please press 1 now. And they were building this whole thing because this was their idea of the internet. Yeah, it's all very early, so they needed all of that stuff voiced. So they actually posted on the SMU Green Room bulletin board there, hey, we need actors to voice this stuff. And my roommate and I at the time were like, sure, let's do that. So we ended up working for this company for maybe a year, something like that. So when I did move out to Los Angeles, what it served to do is make the synapse fire. In addition to headshot, resume, try to get an on-camera agent, I also just had the brainwave. Hey, I do voiceover. I could do that, which of course I totally didn't do voiceover. I thought I did, but it just served to put that on my horizon as a thing. Of course, when you land in Los Angeles and you try to put that as a sample, they just laugh at you. You're just like, it's so not their world. Then I ended up doing a demo with a local producer in Los Angeles then, who got on the phone for me, got me an agent, and got me started.
The Colonel was there, and then you followed it.
Because I'm not sure it would have occurred to me. Before that, voiceover had never flitted across my screen, You just never think of it.
I think that you were somehow open to it, because if I saw that, I'd put the phone book down. I wouldn't follow. And then you said that you made a demo tape out in L.A., and all that training at SMU, was that the foundation for?
At SMU, I'm also a singer, so that helps as well. And that little job was, again, it's not really what voiceover per se tends to be. You do end up with jobs like that periodically, but my training didn't really inform my ability to do that type of work, but the type of stuff I do now does, because it still is all about looking at a script, making a choice, finding effectively the character in there. Even if it's a commercial, there's still a character in there. There's an opinion, and it's not your opinion, because I don't really use whatever diapers or whatever it is I'm selling. You write whatever the ad is. It's not my voice, and they're not my words. So you have to find that character in there, and then find the authenticity and the place. So it is still all acting choices. It's still acting 101, even when it's a commercial, even when it's something that is so seemingly not acting.
I was astounded to find out that a lot of the soundtracks and things, the orchestra just sits down and they record it. There's no prep.
They just do it. Well, and for me, honestly, the work came in when I auditioned for it. The work was put in when I did the audition. Once you book the job, now I just go back and listen to what I did and go, oh, yeah, okay, that's where I was for that. Sometimes they will direct you 180 the opposite direction, but you always start with what you booked. It's more the time it took to do the audition and to be able to craft that in the moment there. So once you book it, that's easy. Turns out the job is very easy once you book it.
You were touching on the video game, so can you tell me a little bit about that? You said that is pure character work.
Yes, that stuff is really fun. I got to do a character just recently where there were all of these plot moments within the game, and they can be accessed in a number of different ways. Some of them are what we call Easter eggs hidden within there that you have to, these gamers are very, very savvy with this stuff, so they'll find them. And this particular character is half AI. She's modified, kind of like a Ghost in the Shell type character. So she's been enhanced, and she has wiped her memory banks of the existence of her oldest sister, because her death was too painful for her, right?
Oh my gosh!
Wow. And there's this whole backstory, right? This is the whole thing. But there was some really beautiful parts to this, where in the middle of a speech, I will be remembering that those memories will come through, and she'll suddenly get very human, and then all of a sudden she cuts herself off, and then she says something like, "Overwriting memory bank 313, overwriting memory bank," and she goes back to her AI's presentation, and that stuff is really fun, to find that character and find where she's human and why her humanity comes out in certain places. And because that is all my choice. The director will kind of tell me what's going on in the scene, and I've obviously got the words, but exactly where it happens and how it happens in that little scene is all mine. That stuff thrills me to my core when I get to do stuff like that.
Can you do a sample? You just did a little.
The problem is I never get my script to take home. So you do it, you walk out of there. I will tell you, I did a character in Resident Evil in a kind of a bonus pack. Good zombie game where you're just shooting zombies. It's crazy. Janet, you don't play the zombie games? The zombie shoot 'em up?
Everybody listen to this one here, and I'm sure your boys are like, yeah, my mom. That's my mom's voice.
Yeah. No, not so much. They're completely, utterly underwhelmed. But that's okay. So this was like a bonus pack. This was called Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and I am a playable character, which means that when you go to play the game, you can choose to play as all of these different characters, and then there are a million ancillary characters, but there are like 5 of us that you can play as. So I'm one of the characters you can play as, which just means you're a bigger sort of presence in that game.
You're higher up in the marquee.
Exactly. Top billing, baby. But I had literally I do this thing maybe over the course of 2, 3, maybe 4-hour-long sessions. On a Tuesday I'll have a 4-hour session. Then maybe 2 months later I'll have another session. Then maybe 3 months after that, because it takes a long time to build these games, right? And then after the final session, it's at least another year before that game comes out. There's a lot to build. And then it's another 6 months. Some guy from, I don't even know where he's from, Sweden, I think, sends me a poster of my character and wants me to write one of my quotes, which they don't give us the script because it's all under wraps. It's all very top secret stuff. I have no idea what I said in this game. I had to Google it. Dude, you tell me what I said. You're the one that plays it.
So it sounds like a lot of the challenge is remembering how you sounded or what character you presented in the audition, for whom, and then, I'm on for this, keeping track of what the expectations are.
In fact, so difficult can that job be that I just recently, in fact, for this same session I was telling you about with the AI character, so I had this session within the last month, and I'm standing there, and the guy says to me, and I'm thinking I'm just showing up for a brand new character, right? Because I don't remember this at all. And a lot of times these games work under a code name. No idea. I could be working for the Taliban. I have no idea. I don't get to know. So it's just a lot of times working under a code name. And when it comes out, I don't know that I was in that game until I see it on my IMDb page. I go show up for this session, and I'm thinking that I just booked a new game, and I get online with the director. He's not in the room with me. He's on the East Coast somewhere, right? He says, okay, so we've got, reference track from when you recorded this a year ago. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't record this. I think they got the wrong actress. I'm like, this could be bad, but maybe they're switching actors. I don't know. And he's like, well, and I finally, because he's talking back and forth about it, we've expanded this, we've done that. When you recorded it a year ago, there's going to be a train wreck. I didn't record it. And finally I fess up. I go, I didn't record this a year ago. And he's like, and there's dead silence for a second. He goes, I'm pretty sure you did. And I said, I don't think I did. He goes, well, let's play the reference track. And God, sure enough, he plays the reference track. It's me. I know, but I'm thinking, I'm going to be searching myself for blonde roots now, and let's proceed like that never happened. I know, it was a year ago, and it was only for like a handful of lines because that's all they had in the game at the time.
You can tell me that in act television that things are disjoint, and rehearsing and filming things in segments, and they can happen months and months apart from each other.
Exactly. And getting continuity on that is very, very difficult. In voiceover, particularly, so much more than on-camera actors or certainly theater actors, I can have 20 auditions in a day. And a lot of those will be commercials, and they're quick, you're in, you're out. A lot of those are characters. So between what I actually recorded for the money and all of the auditions that happened, all of the characters and all of the work, it's so much more. There's no version of the story where an on-camera actor is going to have 20 auditions in a day. It doesn't. It just never happened. It couldn't even get close to that. It would be a crazy day if you had 3. I had 20 yesterday. Volume of work and words and projects and different things that come across my screen is just so much greater than other actors. When people are like, oh, you don't remember my script? It's like, oh, man, sorry. No, it could have been Shakespeare and I wouldn't remember. When you finally book it, I literally looked up that audition. It was a year and a half ago.
Most of the voices, is in your head the same voice or different voices?
There are, and I would say that there are a lot of different voices, and thank God I record everything, because thank God that's the medium, and it all gets recorded, and I can go back and listen, because once I hear it again, my take on the piece of copy is similar the second time around, right? It's very rare that I'm going to have one character that was like this, and then the next time I approach that character, all of a sudden she's like this. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Normally, if I see that piece of script that made me go like that, and suddenly I turn into that again because I read that piece of copy, and that's who I turn out to be. Normally my instinct on a piece of copy is going to probably be my same instinct a year later on that same piece of copy. I mean, or at least very similar vein, right? But in order to guide myself right into that pocket, thank God it's recorded and I can kind of get right back in. It's just mostly subtlety of mood, you know. It's mostly there's smaller strokes, much smaller details that are being shifted between characters.
Do you do anything in particular to recover, in your downtime, to recover? Do you have any particular rituals that you going into it?
Oh, now see, you're tempting me to create a very elaborate ritual. But right, exactly. No one will check. Yes, I turn around 3 times, spit on each hand, then, and only then do I drop an egg on the ground. No, I don't. The only thing I really do, I just drink a lot of fluids. Like when I'm recording, especially, I probably will go through 8 bottles of water. You know, in that session, I think I did. A lot of bathroom breaks. Yeah, well, this is where it helps to be a camel. But, yeah, for the most part.
I said once about, I think you like gourmet teas, because I'm a coffee drinker. But I think teas are much more therapeutic for the voice than I think coffee would just kind of ruin things.
Right, and I am an iced tea person. In fact, here's my iced tea right now. Delicious.
So it sounds pretty much like you've followed sort of the British model, which is just hit your mark and then say your line and just.
So, yes, I mean, because with this stuff, generally speaking, for example, when you go in to do the video game, when you go to record it, you're not given time. There is no rehearsal. Literally, the line pops up. I don't even get the script. It comes up on a big monitor that they have on the other side of the room. I'm lucky if I have a director who will even tell me what's going on in the background. There used to be a law. It's all kind of changing, because when video games first came out, they were trying to follow the union rules that applied to animated projects, which didn't make sense for video games, but it was all a big muddle while they tried to figure it all out. So for a while there was a rule that you couldn't voice more than 3 characters. They couldn't use you for more than 3 characters, which in video games just doesn't work. They're trying to create such a big world, and half the characters only say a couple of lines, and it's only if you as the player walk into the bar, then you interact with the saucy bar wench, you know, wherever it is, and you interact with that character. They need 30 characters in a game, easily. So the way they got around that is just to not tell us what character we were doing. All the characters in the same place, which then drove you crazy because at one point you'll be saying a line like, "You have reached the order of the Sisterhood of the Oracle. Welcome, traveler. Welcome, traveler, to our," and you're clearly some kind of a high priestess type thing. And then the very next line is, "Would you like 2 beers tonight? Oh, wait, I'm saucy beer wench." Jeez. I'm like, can I just please switch characters of this? And they just want you to boom, 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 line. I'm like, come on, let me give you saucy beer wench. I've got a saucy beer wench in here. Is it just going to be 1 beer and out? But they literally wouldn't let you analyze and try to figure out what this character was because it was against some union rule that they were violating, that they were getting around. Well, and you have to learn in that moment. You have to slow them down so that you can make a choice for them that makes sense. You have to slow them down so that you can read the line, which you were not given in advance. You're cold reading it right there for the first time. And if you want to do it well, you will mess up the line somewhere in there on purpose so that now that you know what the line is, now that you know what the line is, you can give it the way you know you want to give it so that you will work again with this producer. It's tricky. You learn how to take care of yourself in there. But no, they don't give you the time to go all method. There's no time. You just have to get in, make your choice, and move on.
Do you ever work with others? Live announcing, is that also a very solo activity, or are you working with others? If you can recall any on-air disasters, anything that comes to mind that you care to share? Just one.
Yeah, just one, maybe one minor little something. Nothing really, just a little thing where I'm on Katherine Heigl's Wikipedia page by name for having messed up her name. Good time. I was into the 2007 Emmy Awards, and I was the announcer that was, in fairness, I was given the wrong pronunciation on my script for how to say her name. Well, and it was HY-GEL. I said, "Hi, Jill."
Of course, Jill. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Right.
That's what I was saying.
Because in that moment, I just questioned, because I had been saying Heigl, I think, for the rehearsal. But in that flicker of a moment, and you're kind of on your own, and the people doing the pronunciations, as you're reading them, it's clear it's like some 20-year-old intern doing it. Right. You know what I mean? It's not somebody who knows how to write pronunciations. It isn't. They're trying to guess how you're going to screw it up and write it so that you don't make that screw up. But as a result, they lead you to a screw. Anyway, it's a train wreck. So and in that flicker of a second, I just saw HY-GEL, and I'm like, maybe the capital GEL threw me off. Maybe they're saying, no, it's gel, not go, right?
Right.
That's what they're trying to lead me to say, and just a flicker, and I wrote, and I did kind of a hybrid, and this was announcing her and another actor, I don't remember who, to come out and present, and it was, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome actor da-da-da-da-da from something, and Katherine Heigl from da-da-da-da-da." And the camera goes to her in that moment as she's walking out, and she turns to the person, she's on this man's arm, and she turns, and you can see her say, you can lip read her saying, "They got my name wrong. That's bullshit." And she steps up to the mic. And now you realize, from my part, I've moved on to my next live announce. And all of a sudden she goes, "Well, it's Heigl, actually." That's okay. A lot of people get the name wrong. And on that moment, I look up and I go, "Oh, my God, is she talking to me?" Oh, my God. All right. I know, right?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, and then later, when she won the Emmy and I was doing the walk-up script for her, and I got it right. I'm, of course, corrected. And I said, the first Emmy nomination and first Emmy win for actress Katherine Heigl. And she gets up again and goes, "Well, thanks for getting my name right." Like, good times. But
and of course, I would be busy. I would be busy saying Hegel.
Yeah.
Just totally messed up.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's the most horrific moment where your stomach just goes through your toenails, and you have to get through the rest of the show. Yeah, and that happens too. I do the Creative Arts Emmys now, and This year, they gave us a break, and I do that with another announcer, this fabulous human named Bo Weaver, who's just fabulous. This year, they gave us a break. If the list was more than 3 names long for the walk-up script, they did a more general. They didn't do all of the names. But the year before, we literally had walk-up scripts that were 50 names deep. And again, it's not like I got this script well in advance. I really got it the night before. And these are not known people. About 40 names in. Honestly, with the animation teams, half of them are in Czech and half of them are in Chinese. And they're intermixed because those are where the animation teams came from. About 40 names in, when you butcher a name and you see that person's face as that happens, you're like, I'm sorry, man. I just got to get through this.
So lots of young folks would love to break into the performance field. They want to be actors.
Sure.
So do you have any words of wisdom for the young that you would like to impart upon them?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's voiceover that they specifically want to pursue, that is changing a little bit. They don't necessarily need to be in New York or LA anymore. I still say it's easier to start from one of those, and then you can move wherever you want. But you don't have to anymore. My words of wisdom were just be really, truly train, get good at what you do, and then get social media savvy. And I'm not terribly, honestly. That is one area where I need to work. But for the most part, no major league batter would be caught dead skipping BP. You train. You stay sharp. It's a performance art, and you are your instrument. No musician walking onto Lincoln Center stage would be caught dead without having tuned up that instrument. They do it on stage in a fine orchestra. It's so critical, and so the atrophy of that instrument getting out of tune is so fine that you have to do it on stage, for goodness sake. You need to train. It's a subtle art, and it's all about being, to some degree, fearless and being comfortable with making big choices as well as small choices and committing to them, and not being afraid to try something different. And I think it's really critical to know that to some degree, you're not necessarily trying to get cast. You're just trying to be honest. When you're crafting an audition, it's very easy to be thinking to yourself, what do they want? But if you are only in the business of giving them what they want, what you think they want to hear here, you're not going to work very much. What they want is to hear somebody who thinks. They want to hear a thinking person. And when you get a piece of copy, and this goes for a commercial piece of copy or anything, and you just try to be honest with it. You internalize it to the point that it is now coming from you, which is critical, and you have an opinion about it. You have made meaning out of it, and now you are stating your case or you are bringing that meaning out in an honest format. Now you've put a human stamp on it that is your own. That is now castable. You can't get there when you're coming from the place of what is it that they want to hear. Filter that does not serve you. In different fields, actually. It's that pursuit of that truth. And they're really, now we're getting a little esoteric, but the truth. Oh, okay, I'll live for esoteric. When folks go away from that, that's when the trouble begins. The correction that needs to happen. And sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big, and then it's like... Again, it comes down... You're right. There are broader strokes to that. If you're living your life according to what you think everybody else wants, right, things you should do, that comes down the path of the shoulds. You're never going to find happiness down that path. And the funny thing is, in the end, I think whatever it is in each person, that really strives to come out. The internal just will not be... One of my guests said the voice was not still. She returned to the theater. Yeah, I can feel that. You mentioned in your write-up that there's only a few women in this very competitive field. Any reflections about that? Sure. I didn't actually mean to imply that there aren't many women in voiceover at large. Oh, there are. Many, 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 many. And so the funny thing about voiceover is that It is an applied art that is utilized by so many totally and fundamentally different industries. The advertising people are an entirely different species, practically on a different planet from the video game people, from the e-learning people, from the promo people. Even, they're all in their own little world with their own little norms and protocols. And so it was more, certainly like in movie trailers, for example. I've never done a movie trailer. There are very few women who have. It's you could lose a couple of fingers.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about
right as you think about it. In a world where men do movie trailers, women don't. Right? They just don't.
There's Rebecca Riedy trying to break in.
Exactly. Yeah. Wish her luck with that. And the real truth is, if I'm being very honest, the newest trend in movie trailers doesn't have voiceover at all, and I far prefer it. I think it's better filmmaking. Yeah, I actually personally prefer it, but many people don't agree with me on that one, especially voiceover people. But in like a lot of promos, if you ever think about, if you're watching NBC, ABC, CBS, and there are women, they're really breaking in there now. 2.5 men, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's all men. It's mostly men, for sure, these big promo guys. And live announce, now it's probably about 50-50, women to men at this point. And commercial, it's a lot of women. 9 major car campaigns. It used to be only men did cars. The gender line tends to fall out in products. Like women do mostly, of course, makeup. That's very clear where they're gonna fall out, right? But then like car companies used to be mostly men. It's changing. The mood right now seems to be hiring women for car companies, right?
Right.
No, there are plenty of women in voiceover. There aren't many of us people in voiceover who work in more than a couple of different areas in voiceover. You tend to specialize. And that's partly because there are, if you do a lot of promos, that's always going to be audio that's going to picture. They're going to cut it up and put, so like if I'm doing something for Nickelodeon, on the next something, the girls had a da-da-da, and then it's a little clip of the girls going, what are we going to do? Ma-ma-ma-ma-ma-ma. Or should they da-da-da-da-da? Oh, run for your lives. But whatever they do, don't da-da-da. Ah, blah, 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 right? It's all going to get cut up. And so you have to land at the bottom of everything so that it makes sense that it gets cut up. And right, you have to know where those gaps are going to be so that you read it according. And once you get really good at that, a lot of people have a hard time then going back to a regular commercial where it doesn't do that, where it has to flow seamlessly. Different rhythms. And once you get a rhythm really ingrained, a lot of people have a hard time shifting out of it for the other job. So they don't tend to work in that other thing very much. So there aren't a lot of people who shift between the different aspects of voiceover very widely.
I think voiceover is something that just it's everywhere. It happened. I don't know. I wasn't so aware of it, and now I'm like super aware of it. Like,
we're the elevator music of your life.
It's very interesting. It's just so pervasive.
I know. And then what's interesting is as new technologies develop, typically speaking, they need voiceover. You think of Siri and Alexa and all of those, but you never think of that.
Recalculate.
Yeah, the Waze lady. All of those new technologies tend to use voiceover.
Well, the famous one for music is something about, what was it? It's like a hold music from one of the hold music and he did electronic music, and he just came up with it in an hour, and now it's in a billion places.
Right.
And I think he was part of the technologists who put together, and they're like,
right.
Not only do we need these functionalities in the software and then the hardware or whatever. I think it was Cisco, actually. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of these stories and giving us a bigger glimpse into the world of voiceover. I want to thank you for that.
Of course. Well, thank you.
And thank you all for listening. My guest today has been Rebecca Riedy, and I am Janet Lee. So please stay tuned for more episodes of Well, Don't Tell the Kids.